Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
You're watching WLAE, New Orleans Public Television.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
CNC Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, CNC provides patient-centered care for your entire family. CNC Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we'll cover all the home teams. Saints, LSU, Tulane. We'll talk about Nichols also. It'll be a football show today. Mike Detillier joins us from WWL Radio. Mike, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Eric.
Good to have you back. And as always, again, looking forward to, again, a great conversation about the upcoming football season.
Yeah, I'm ready. You know, it's a long off season. I tell this to my producer, Charlie Long, all the time. And thank God for the baseball transfer portal.
Yes.
You know, those things kind of keep us running.
The dog days of summer.
Oh, Lord, yeah. It's long with it, but to have that sort of that you can roll with a little bit. And now the way recruiting is for football, there's a lot of news in that May, June, July. And we have so many camps in our area with the Louisiana Line Camp, Manning Camp, and the Pro Football Camp, Dr. David Elias's camp that we have there. It was sort of record breakers for all three camps. And to see in a sort of a dead period of the summer that, you know, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Nichols State is the hub of football. Because we had 775 linemen for our offensive, defensive lineman camp. Pete Jenkins sort of oversees everything along with Coach Don Rodrigue and Kevin Mawai. And so that's the record breaker. And Archie told me this back in October. He's like, Mike, we got over 1,500 kids. We shut it down in like 2.5 weeks. I think because some people, it may be a vacation or they may not be feeling well. I think they had like 1,492 kids. But that's as close to 1,500 as you're going to get. And we had about 350 for the pro football camp, which is a lot of the local young men, but a lot of guys that...
And that camp is for tryouts or
No, but basically it's just you go through the individual drills. If you're a lineman, if you're a receiver, running back, quarterback, and
that's high school kids?
High school kids. And, you know, they put them through kind of what you go through in the NFL Combine, that sort of thing. So we have a lot of the guys that have sort of made it next level, give back. Meek Robertson, who's now with the Detroit Lions. Karen Lacey was at this camp. Hopefully, Karen's going to be the guy this year at LSU at wide receiver. Bo Bordelon, who sort of grew up in that area, but, you know, he went to Isadora Newman.
Right.
His dad now have a place in the city. And so many other people that have contributed back in the past. Mason Smith, Mason was there as a camper,
right.
And then he comes back as a counselor. We had Will Campbell, and he sort of distinguished himself very, very quickly when he's out on that field. So just great to see all that. We had 13 NFL coaches for the Louisiana line camp come there to coach, along with Kevin Mawai. Steve Court was there, former Saints player. And certainly with Manning, you know, you got 45 to 47 starting quarterbacks in college football that are there. And the surprise visit of Bill Belichick. Yeah. You know, when I saw Bill there, I was like, I know one thing, he got a job. Because, you know, I'm standing up, I'm watching Jalen Milroe from Alabama. And Jalen's throwing the ball, and I felt somebody like touched my back, and he wheels around. He just sort of hits me, and I was like, man, what? So Bill went in there, went and talked to Milroe, but he was slick. He goes talk to Milroe, then he goes to Carson Beck. You know, he knew exactly who he wanted to go talk to. So Bill was there to kind of oversee things, and also I think be another presence, because I think he's got a tie-in with Peyton Manning, with the production company, with Omaha. And so that particular part. So it was great to see Bill there, and you know, he was in a good mood. He wasn't coaching.
No pressure.
He's not unemployed, that sort of thing. So it was great to see that. And Archie and Peyton and Eli and Cooper, they do a great job of setting all this up. My goodness, it's hard to believe you could get, and you walk in that parking lot, you park and then you walk and you see these cars. It's Ohio, Montana, Nebraska. I mean, it's like everywhere. And not too many Louisiana license plates in there. It's from all over the country.
Look, Nickel's come a long way since the Saints trained there back in the 70s, huh?
I used to tell that to Archie, you know, growing up. I grew up probably 20 minutes away. And man, you get that summertime, and at one time where the like Louisiana line camp, Manning camp is today, it used to be nothing but sugar cane. Man, them skeeters that come out of them sugar canes, man, they big enough they can grab you and take off with you. Brooke Kirchhofer called me one time. She did a game at St. James, and this was, you know, there's certain times at a period, kind of periods of, I guess, fall. And they got, you know, we just don't have the infantry cockroaches. They got the airborne type too. And boy, them lights attracted them. They were flying around. She was like, Mike, I don't know what's going on. I mean, they were flying all over, and you got those TV lights hit you. So I told her, you stay there a little bit longer. But when they cut that cane, they come out of there. Yeah, you got the airborne division enrolled.
No doubt. No doubt. Let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints in camp in California. The pads are on this week. You've had a lot of guys on from obviously from camp. You guys got Steve up there right now as well, I'm sure. What are your impressions so far?
From everything we've heard from Mike Hoss and Deuce and Jeff Nowak.
Jeff.
It's still early, but the padded practice is what they all want to see.
That's right, of course.
This pajamas and slipper stuff, I mean, I don't know what you get out of it, because we go to the OTAs and somebody could get hurt. I mean, you could pull a muscle, or so anything can happen like that. Padded practices, you get to see a little bit more. I think the early impressions is, and you can take this good and bad, that Chase Young, we didn't know he would be in camp practicing this early.
Agreed.
We thought it would be later, because that's what the early prognosis was. And he sure has shown out. I mean, one thing with Chase, he's a big man. I think, you know, one of the things people don't realize is just how big a guy Chase Young is. And he's very talented. He's had some injuries over the last couple years. The neck, he got done in the offseason. But he knows this is a money year for him. And he's back, and they see his presence. The other good news is that we've gotten good reports about Peyton Turner and Isaiah Foskey coming off the edge. This team was in the bottom 5 in pressures and quarterback sacks last year. Come on, you ain't winning squat if you can't influence the quarterback. You're not winning at any level. The fact that those guys have shown up, I think, has certainly been an encouraging sign. Offensive line's a major question mark for me. And the 5 guys playing as one, that still to me is the biggest concern for me. And is Trevor Penning going to work out at right tackle? I have no idea. None.
But my God, can we kind of talk a little bit about that now? Rod Walker had an interesting article within the last couple of days about Teron Armstead working with Penning. Penning, again, Armstead, and again, I'm paraphrasing here from the article, 15 things that, again, he was doing wrong, before the snap. You had looked at him during your draft guide. Saints picked him at 19 in that draft. He has not progressed, injured the first year, 6 games last year, pulled. What are your thoughts? I mean, moving to the right side, is that the panacea for him at this point? Is he an NFL lineman? Can he play inside? Can he play outside?
Okay, it's between the ears now.
Okay.
Okay, he lost his confidence as a player.
Okay.
The one thing with it, I knew he was always going to be a pretty good run blocker because, I mean, he had that size, bulk, and he was aggressive, and he'd sort of finish you off. But he has never progressed as a pass protector. My thing is, if Teron has worked with him on 15 things, what was Doug Marrone doing?
Exactly what I said on the show.
All this stuff they try to feed you about, he's this offensive line guru.
One of the greatest offensive line coaches in the game.
Come on. And this is a guy who's talented. Now, if you're telling me he can't develop a guy who's got no skills, I get that. This guy who's got some skills, and physically, he's what you're looking for.
Okay.
He hasn't played a lot of football because of injuries. So that comes into play.
Big jump from Northern Iowa.
Oh, my
NFL.
God. Okay, you might play one guy when you're at Northern Iowa that's as good as any of those guys you're going up against in a 17-game season. One.
Right. He's a massive guy, so he's probably bigger than everybody he played against.
I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm more talented.
Right.
Okay, you come in the NFL, they got guys every bit as big, every bit as fast, every bit as talented, and they technically strong. Okay, they understand how to play this game. And so he's sort of a neophyte as far as a pass protector is concerned. And he's really not progressed from year one on. But Zach Streif told me this. He was like, Mike, I watch Trevor, and this was year one, he's like, he's only getting about 20% of the reps I got in 2006. Because he said, now they don't give you all these reps. There's no two-a-days. Okay, they've got 3 days of padded practice, and then you got time off, and then you're in pajamas and slippers for a couple days. So he's like, the development part of a lineman is really tough today. And I talked to Pete Jenkins, and Pete said, Mike, I understand why the Players Association did this to try to save people, but what it hurt is offensive and defensive linemen. Where are they getting the reps? Okay, you got to go up against somebody in pads. The physicality part of the game is taken away. So then this is now lumped on your assistant coaches to work with them to get the very best out of them in the limited reps. How much they play in preseason is always questionable today about how you want to handle preseason. So, Eric, it's a major question mark. Right tackle and left guard for me. I think Fuaga, he ain't going to have an issue. I watched him at the OTAs. Okay, I know he had played right tackle basically all of his career. You watch him on the left side. He's not awkward. His footwork is good. Now, the one thing, your kick step back as a pass protector changes when you're on the left side. And he was working on that part, and you could tell that's the one area for him he's got to get used to. Where I think he'll get beat is not off the edge, inside. Because what they'll do, they'll put a move like they're going outside and they'll kick it inside. And can you control him? If he gets to the outside, Fuaga can put his long arms and steer you away from the quarterback. Quarterback can walk up into the pocket. But if he gets inside, ain't no place to go. I mean, he's right there. Quickest place to get to the quarterback, right up the middle. And so we'll see with that. But I don't have an issue with Fuaga.
Right.
I think he's going to be fine. And we know with Ruiz and McCoy what you got. Left guard position is every bit the Marvel Mystery Tour as right tackle.
Right.
And maybe more, because you hope Nick Saldiveri would be that guy.
Already a calf injury.
You know, he got an injury already. Calf injury that he had a year ago, he's got it again. I know Shane Lemieux can play. And I've talked to people involved with the Giants. They loved him. And he started as a rookie there, 6, 7 games. They said, we just couldn't keep him around. He couldn't stay healthy. What happens? He's hurt now. So now, you know, you got Lucas Patrick, the old grizzled veteran who has started at center guard. He may be your best option at that left guard position. Early in the season, look who you play. Okay, game 1, you should take care of Carolina, but look who you play afterwards. That's where they're going to target that left guard, right tackle.
Right. When you look at Penning, again, used to be able to hide the right tackle, right?
Can't hide him now.
You can't hide him now. Okay, he may be proficient at run blocking, but he's going to have to be able to pass block. Do you see a scenario where, again, he starts to develop and gets better under fire this season?
Man, I got to see it. Okay, I can hope it, but I got to see it. You got to show me.
I agree.
You got to show me you can do it.
I say that about the entire team. You got to show me.
And so, and at one time, okay, if you were a right tackle, I could put my tight end right next to you, okay? And I'll get my stance. All I had to do was just glimpse. I see the tight end. Well, today, I gotta get a telescope to see the tight end. They flexed out with the receivers all the way to the edge.
This offense, too.
Eric, I wish I had a better answer, because to me, it's not always about one individual, but 5 working as one. I've always felt if it's college or pros, offensive line play is the last piece of the puzzle to come together. Because of the way you practice or don't practice, the way you play or don't play in preseason. Those first 3 or 4 games are difficult because you're not working as one. Why did the Lions get up to a fast start last year? They had all 5 guys back. They went up against the Chiefs. Man, no Chris Jones? Man, we got that. What they did at the end of the game, ran the ball, ran the ball, ran the ball. Man, we're not scared of those guys, and we know how to play as a unit. Not a lot of teams are like the Lions, I will say that. And I give Campbell a lot of credit along with their GM.
I agree.
They hit there, they paid those guys, and they developed that line because what it's done, made Jared Goff a better player.
Yeah, of course.
And look at the receivers now they got. Okay, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, 3 years ago I told you that. Who's that? Who's that guy? Okay, Jamison Williams understands having a great camp for them. Sam Laporta as a rookie tight end. Look what he did in this league. So they have a lot of pieces in place with the Saints. It's question marks across the board. And as many question marks as I have about offensive line, I'm hoping they can run the football. Hoping. Because all this play action and all this movement, if I'm a defense, man, you're not fooling me. You can do all this play action all you want. If you don't run the ball well, that's all pea and shell to me. I'm going after the quarterback. That's what and I'll play the run along the way.
This blocking scheme within this version of the West Coast offense, do you think it helps this line?
I think it couldn't hurt it. I think bringing in 2 veteran offensive line coaches really do help also.
You like Benton?
Yeah, and he understands this game at another level. And so to get, you got to go out and do it. Coaching does matter in the NFL. And
we thought Marrone was the guy, right?
And he wasn't. He wasn't. And my thing is, there was a reason why, I know how much Alabama pays assistant coaches, why he left there to come to the Saints. I think Nick sort of saw, and listen, for all of us, we like that. You get to a point in life where you're not as good as a coach, or not as good as an announcer, or whatever. And I think Nick sort of saw that, goes to the Saints, and name me one lineman he's developed. Name me one. None.
Look. Penning, Saldiveri, go right down the line.
Man, if you're not good up front, Eric, you're in trouble.
Let's talk about the running game. Let's start with Alvin Kamara first. It was reported this week that the Saints have a contract on the table for Kamara. Whether he accepts that contract or not, we don't know. What do you think will be the end game on this? Do you think they give him guaranteed money for 2025?
Yeah, I think that's how they're going to do it. They're going to give him some guaranteed money for 2025. I cannot see this go and not do anything with the contract all year long.
Me too.
This offense is built for him.
Yes.
It's built around him as a runner and a receiver. Okay, my thought process is, if you wasn't going to give him a contract, did you not figure that he was going to say, wait a minute, my contract for next year says $25 million. You're not paying me that and no one else.
Right.
I might have to take a look around the league or draft a running back. And you didn't do it. So that part of the, money, I don't like to get involved with anybody's cash. But I do think that they do sign him to a reverse contract, and he does get guaranteed money in 2025. But I wouldn't go past there.
Right. I don't think they will either. But unless they put a dummy year in there, just for again the accounting purposes.
For the money situation. Because I saw the Titans do this, and I'm part of the Titans radio network, and they did it with Derek. Okay, they came to the decision, we're not paying Derek Henry in 2024. He can go somewhere else. God bless him. He was unbelievable.
2 years, $16 million is what he got, right?
With the Ravens.
Right.
And it's a good fit for Derek. You know why? Because you got the speed of Lamar, who scares you. Okay, because if he takes off running, you're in trouble. You better hitch the wagon really good. Now you got this big power guy. It's unique. And I used to say this on Titans Network, not because I was doing it there. Name me another guy like him in the last 10 years in the NFL.
No.
Who's 6'3", who's 255
and the speed?
pounds. With his speed. And when you watch the film, they got more guys doing Olay moves to try to get out of his way. What a 185-pound corner. And I see that big guy turn the corner, and you watch him practice. And in practice, he sort of did things on his own. He'd work almost like, we call it like a cat box. If you had a cat to do the business. Derek worked in a little box, and they had a helmet, and he would run past that helmet, and it was slam. He'd hit that hand up against that helmet, boy, and you could hear it. And you're like, man, if you defensive back, and they know it, he might run over you, he might run over the top of you, run past you, but you also might get that hand to the helmet with Derek. So I think for him to end his career in Baltimore is great, because he doesn't have to carry the load like he did with the Titans for so many years. And their offensive line is every bit as bad, if not worse, than the Saints.
Right. Speaking of the Titans, Tyjae Spears is there.
Yep.
And he's had, again, so far so good for him. In New Orleans, they draft Kendre Miller. He's injured again. And of course, again, that's been kind of the theme of him since coming out of TCU. They do have Williams. Mims is supposedly having a really good camp. What are your thoughts about the depth at running back?
The Tyjae Spears thing will stay there forever.
And it should, because again, it's honestly, it's unbelievable. The guy's in your backyard. Okay, you draft a guy that again was injured. You're worried about Tyjae's knee. Tyjae's playing. This guy can get on the field.
And I get it, because sometimes people don't understand that when you go through these medicals and the doctors are involved, doctor can hit you a red flag, gives it to you. You can draft him. Right. Red flag. They had a number of people. I got more calls for Tyjae last year than any other person until this year with Mason. Man, I got the last couple of days, I was inundated with stuff with Mason. And, Mason grew up maybe 15 minutes from my home. Right. And, with Tyjae, it was all about his health. Could he hold up with the 2 knee injuries that he had? And some of the scouts told me that their medical staff flagged him, basically rejected him. Right. And so do you go against your medical staff here with your gut that the guy can help? He lasted, because I had him ranked as a second-round pick. He lasted into the 3rd round, but he got a trail into the 3rd round now. And for the Titans, he was too good to pass up. Even though I think they had major concerns about his medicals. No, we're not passing him up. We're taking him. Now you got Kendra Miller, who was sort of a bit of a one-year wonder for TCU.
Yeah.
He had battled some injuries early in his career. Comes in here last year, boom, he's hurt. Dennis Allen sort of said, because I questioned him in one of the OTAs afterwards, and I asked him about Kendra Miller, and he was like, he's mentally and physically got to understand how to play this game. Or he's telling you, hey, you got to get your body in shape.
Right.
There's 17 games here.
Well, he pretty much laid it on the line when the media asked him about this last injury, right?
Right.
Can't make it. Can't make the team, right?
And so he's telling you, I'm telling him, hey, I don't care where we picked you. We got somebody that's more productive.
Right.
Sorry, we moving on. I don't know about Jamal Williams. I do know he was running behind a really good offensive line in Detroit, and he didn't run behind a good offensive line last year, but he didn't seem to have much of a burst at all. Jordan Mims is interesting, okay? He's not big.
Right.
He's not fast.
Right.
He's not super quick. You know what he is? He's a football player.
Well, McCoy said that he tore them up last year on the scout team.
I can believe it. He gives you everything he's got. He's a terrific receiver coming out of the backfield, runs really good routes. He's a one-cut, eye vision, get up the field guy.
Which works for this offense, right?
Perfect. And the other thing I see he does really well, even though it's in practice, he can pass protect.
Okay.
He can pass protect. And I never forget, we'd have the Drew Brees on with us weekly, and Drew was like, man, I love Mark Ingram. Not only as a runner and a receiver, protect me. He's the last line of defense, so to speak, as a protector. Jordan Mims can do that. I think he's got a really good chance to make this team. He was sort of the long shot that I said, hey, gotta keep an eye on, and then bang, Mason Tipton shows up.
Do you like the wide receiver position? I was going to go there with Tipton.
I think with Olavi and Rashid Shaheed, you got two guys looking to hit big this year. If you can protect Carr, they're going to hit big. Cedric Wilson's going to be your 3. Okay. He's got a lot of experience, had a lot of touches,
and been in the system before, right?
Yes, and he's played a lot of football in Dallas and in Miami. He's your 3.
Okay.
What happens at 4 and 5 is the big question mark. And you kind of heard Dennis Allen get on A.T. Perry. Very similar to what he said about Kendra. Hey, I'm not seeing him get better or worse. You don't like to stay the same. Eric, and I've seen this a few times. Guys that, for whatever reason, are not good practice players.
In a game.
First thing I thought, they flipped the switch. I'm like, Jake was like that, Jake Delhomme. Jake was terrible in practice. You put him in a game, it's like, but they the exception to the rule, okay? I know Bobby always says, Mike, if I practiced well, I played well, because I was confident. But you do have some guys. A.T. was one of them. He was El Lauzio last year, and we watched the fall drills and OTAs. He wasn't very good. He dropped as many as he caught. And you wondered, is he going to make this team? But they saw potential. Late in the season, man, he came through for you.
No, he did.
He really did. So is he the exception to the rule? Is he one of those guys that no matter how he practices, put him in a game, he makes plays? And so that's intriguing. Equanimous St. Brown, a tall, lengthy receiver. He's got a place here.
Bub Means?
Bub, I think, is a developmental guy. Okay. He's a good route runner, and he's built more like a running back than he is a receiver. What he's got to learn how to do is block downfield, because that is an emphasis on this team like never before. Block. You got to block. Now, Sean had a big emphasis, but, man, not like what I see here. It is really an emphasis on blocking. And then I couldn't have told you that he would show up this big. Even watching him at OTAs was Mason Tipton from Yale. Okay, his dad was a former college football player at Akron. Mason was a tremendous baseball player. Could have had a baseball scholarship. He was that good. Goes to Yale. Come on, at Yale, they're not slinging the ball downfield. So he didn't look fast on tape, as fast as we see him now. You could see some quickness. A lot of things were vertical with him. It wasn't the short intermediate stuff. which I didn't get. If you got a fast guy, just throw it out there 2 or 3 yards and let him run with it. But that's not what Yale wanted to do. I'll watch him now in some of the clips that we've had at WWL film and how he gets into and out of a cut and a break. I'm like, whoa, I didn't see that at Yale. Somebody's worked with him.
Okay.
I don't know who he's worked with, but to do that seamlessly, you cannot teach speed.
There's a place for a guy like that.
There's a place for him
in this offense, right?
Absolutely. You know what he can do too? He can help Rashid Shaheed on the kickoff team. Man, if you that fast, man, I'm going to give you a shot returning kickoffs. And see how you do.
Right.
The one thing with him, he catches the ball well, Eric. Even when we saw him in the OTAs, I don't remember him dropping a pass.
Okay.
He catches it, and it's out front like this. So, but that's the baseball player in him, okay?
Yeah.
And I always will give a little bit of an asterisk if I grade a player, and he's got a baseball background.
Okay.
He's got eye-hand coordination. Okay, he's got that a part of it. You can't play baseball. You got to catch the ball.
That's right.
Somewhere, and so he's an interesting player for them. What happens at tight end? You're still waiting for Juwan Johnson to come back from the injury. I think it certainly opens the door for Dallin Holker to come in because he's a pass catcher.
Right.
He's
Plus, you always got Taysom, you know.
And you got Taysom. Who knows where they're going to use him?
It looks like they're going to use him everywhere.
And he's going to play running back, fullback, tight end.
Right.
I've heard a couple people say, well, you're not going to see him as much on the quarterback power. What?
That would be crazy.
That's what he does the best.
Right, that would be crazy.
Why would you take that out of the offense?
Kubiak's too small for that.
I think he's started throwing all kind of cards down. You can believe what you want to believe, and I'm going to show you what I got to show you.
Right.
But when these practices get closed, I'm going to show you what we're going to do with Taysom. He becomes a much bigger part of this offense.
I agree.
And you know what? He may well be your number 2 halfback.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think they're going to plug him in whether they need him. You know, again, whether it be receiver, whether it be fullback, whether it be running back, tight end, wherever they need him, they're going to plug him in.
And so we had talked to him after one of the OTAs, and I was like, man, you getting ready to catch the ball a little bit more? He was like, I've been ready for 3 years. You know, it was like, he sort of knew the quarterback stuff had sort of passed. That he was going to be used as a designated quarterback in certain situations. But he can catch the ball really well, and he's a good route runner.
Right. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio, is our guest. We will come back and talk a little about the defense side of the Saints. Then we'll jump into LSU, Tulane, and Nichols. It's a football version of Inside New Orleans Sports today. We'll be right back after hearing from our underwriters. Stay tuned.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Mike Detillier is our guest. Mike, let's talk defense. You talked a little bit about Chase Young earlier. We talked a little bit about the defensive line. Are you concerned about Brazil's foot injury?
I don't know exactly what it is.
But it's been kind of quiet.
It's been very quiet with him. He's a big man. Eric, I just think about over the last 10, 12 years, have we seen a defensive lineman that big, that athletic, that can get up the field? Now, because he is so big, there is some vulnerability against the run. Because the way he comes off the snap, he's sort of like a cowboy. He sits high in the saddle. I get under his pads and move him around. But as a pass rusher and a guy that can run the field, he's unique. You can't tell me another guy over the last 10 or 12 years that's built like him with his athletic ability inside. He is what was advertised, so to speak, coming out of Clemson. He's what was advertised. Hopefully the foot injury is not severe.
Because injuries slowed him down at Clemson, right?
Yeah, he had sort of a series of it.
Yeah, last year was pretty much injury-free for the most part.
Yeah, and he's a big guy. Now, I mean, you don't realize how big he is until you're next to him. And he is a big guy. So my thing with the Saints up front, you got to be able to stop the run better. Because last year you bring in Nathan Shepard and Colin Saunders, and you thought that was going to help your run defense. Teams gashed this team early in games. Now they adjusted, and it wasn't as much in the second half of games. But in the first half, man, he had a lot of them. And the other part, too, was running quarterbacks. And it used to be just Jalen Hurts that used to hurt this team. But now everybody was doing it. That's why you bring in Willie Gay Jr.
So do you think that they'll go with more of a 3-linebacker set?
Because of Willie.
Yeah, you can't put him on the bench. He's got to be on the field.
You got to put him on the field. And we have a couple of Kansas City Chiefs defensive coaches that come to Louisiana Line Camp every year. And Brandon Daly was the linebacker coach. They put him as the running game coordinator, whatever that means. He gets a few extra bucks because it's Spags defense, you know. And I asked him, I said, how did they come up with the spy with Willie Gay Jr.? He said, Mike, he's always 2 steps ahead. Andy Reid, a couple years back, he walks in the room, he says, Guy, all these young quarterbacks coming out of college today, they can all run. Do we have a guy that can spy that quarterback? Foot for foot, step for step, keep up with them. And Brandon said, yeah, I got one. Willie Gay Jr.
Okay.
He said, we've been able to stop that. We've been able to put a hold to say, hey, listen, you're not running on us. Like you said, every once in a while somebody might take off. But, you know, we've done a really good job, you know, in Kansas City being able to stop the athletic quarterbacks. And he said, I think that's a big reason why the Saints signed him. He's athletic. His speed on the field, when you watch him, it is not only fast, it's real fast. And he's a 240-pound guy. He's not a small linebacker by any stretch. Where I'd like to see him used a little bit more, Kansas City didn't do it, and I get it. They got a few better pass rushers up front. Then Chris Jones, I mean, come on. He is who he is. I'd like to see them use him off the edge as a pass rusher. And to see how well he can handle that particular part. Because he was playing a little over 60% of the snaps in Kansas City. And they did a lot of off-base defense. They put in an extra safety or an extra corner. But he was playing 60% of the time. So they trusted him in coverage. But what they didn't use him as a pass rusher, man, my thing is, look what Caden Ellis did in that. Okay, it took him until probably game 11 to figure out Zach Bond can rush off the edge. You and I have talked about that since they drafted him. All this horse hockey that you were reading about how great he is in coverage, he couldn't cover anybody. He was a pass rusher at Wisconsin. Let Willie get in there and see what he can do. I'm telling you, Eric, you're going to be surprised how fast he is coming off the edge. Now, we haven't seen it in practice, and I know why. Man, I'm not showing you nothing about what we're going to do with Willie. And I don't think you'll see it in preseason either. I think he might get a couple plays here and there. But, man, come regular season, he's going to be your spy. And you know what? Hey, get the guy who's the quarterback. Go after him in a pass rush situation.
I do want to ask you about Christian Boyd and your thoughts on him being one of the players that maybe could help in stopping the run for this team.
He's a big nose guard.
And he comes from Northern Iowa, much like Penning did.
And I knew.
Is he more NFL ready?
I think he's got some development, not say against the run. More, he's never been known as a great pass rusher. Though, you know who his defensive line coach coordinator was? You probably know the name, Bryce Popp.
Oh, I do know him.
Who was an all-pro with the Packers for years. And he's the coordinator, defensive line coach. So I know one thing, he's technically sound. And you can see it with his arms, his hands, his leverage skills. Man, and he's a big man. Like from the waist down, he's a load to move off that. But he played most of the time either right on top of the center or sort of cocked a little bit toward the center. And, you know, if I'm a center and I see him there and he's a big dude, I'm like, oh, let me make sure this snap gets right and hope I can get my hands on him. He's an interesting player. I think you would look at him as a guy that potentially could make the team.
Right.
But as a developmental guy, here's my thing with Boyd. He may get snuffed out a little bit on a 53-man roster because of what happens on kickoffs.
Okay.
I may have to keep an extra defensive back or a linebacker, and maybe not as many defensive
Who's
linemen.
the physical run stuffer for them then?
They don't have that guy. You thought it might have been Saunders.
Right.
He's a bit of a freelance guy. And the Chiefs coaches told me, and listen, he's a good player, but he does a lot of freelance. You know, he thinks he sees something, and he's so athletic that he can make the play, and he gets kind of caught out of position. With Shepard, I think they brought him in to be more of the pass rusher guy. You saw glimpses of it. It wasn't, you know, totally there. So that's a big question mark for me.
I think it is, because you got to be able to have the ability to stop.
Okay, you can't run for 3.5 yards a carry, and you're giving up 4.5.
I don't care.
Eric, people say, oh, that's just one yard. Man, add that up over a period of time, and you see what that 1 yard means.
I want to ask you about the secondary. Lattimore hurt again. Kool-Aid in his spot. What are your thoughts on the secondary overall?
Right now, I'm not too worried about. I know what Lattimore can do. Okay, and Eric, you and I have spoke about this, and we old enough. We have seen every secondary this football team's ever had. They've never had four corners like this.
Never.
When you're talking about Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo on the other side, thing with Paulson, he's going to be the next Powerball winner for the Saints. Because when Tyson Campbell signed that deal with Jacksonville, as the first thing that came to my mind, they were both picked in the same draft class. Tyson was a second-round pick, he was a third, but they both starting corners. Man, Paulson Adebo is going to say, wait a minute, Tyson Campbell got this. That's what I want. I want that money. So it's Powerball time for Adebo, and he really came through for you last year.
Which is one of the reasons I think they picked Kool-Aid, because again they're looking at Lattimore's contract
down the
line. Yeah, because they realize.
And Alontae Taylor, I've always thought he was more comfortable outside, though he's playing in the slot.
Where do you think he lands eventually? Do you think they put him on the outside?
I think he lands outside.
Do you think Kool-Aid's more?
Kool-Aid to me is more of an inside player.
Me too. But just a bit more physical guy, right?
But my thing about it is, I think this year you will see the Saints when they come out with these nickel and dime sets, the four corners on the field. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, why wouldn't you?
Wait, I ain't putting no safety out there. Tyron's different.
Sure, because he can roam.
But my thing, if I got those four corners and I got Tyron on the back end, and I feel as though it's the best cornerback group this team has ever had. And the one thing with Kool-Aid, having talked to coaches that coached him at Alabama and Coach Jenkins and all, he was like, and we had him on the night that he got selected. And it was so funny to hear him talk. And I asked him about, his relationship with Coach Saban. He's like, well, I don't know about relationship, but he said, every day when we had our film room session, Coach Saban's sitting in there with the corners and safeties. That's his baby.
Well, he's a defensive back. Was old defensive back coach,
and so he said it was either him telling you what you did wrong, how to correct it, your technique work, or you were getting your butt chewed out. He said it was one of the four. And Pete Jenkins said, well, tell him don't feel bad. As a coach, I caught it the exact same way. And so Pete always brings up, look back at Nick's time frame at Alabama. How many guys started mid-season as a true freshman? He's kind of different. He gets it mentally. He understands it. His former defensive back coach told me, you tell him one time, I got it. Coach, I got it. I get it. Now, the NFL's a little different of who you're facing, but very confident, very smart, athletic, and I know the last OTAs we got to talk to the defensive back coaches for the Saints, and they were like, hey, even though he's not on that field, he gets it. He knows it every step of the way. So, and you got Amade, who can play both safety and corner. So now you got a fifth guy worked into the mix here. What happens, and they use so many different packages now, how they use Jordan Howden, who I think a lot of. I think he's a really good football player. Will that's part of the puzzle. But they have so many different packages now that you can do that. But the 4 corners, if they healthy, expect that's who you're going to see out there.
LSU, again, picked 5th in the SEC by the media. Again, Nussmeier's team this time around. Your thoughts on the Tigers?
Man, I see some of these people putting them in the top 5 or 6 in the country.
Right.
My thing is, have you seen them play defense?
Right. Well, that's the big question mark, right? Can they stop the run?
And listen, I'm a big Blake Baker guy. I think Blake is going to help this team. They're well coached.
I agree.
I thought they were absolutely lost last year, coaching-wise. They seemingly were out of position a lot. And so, Eric, I think like in any profession, if you're questioning what you're doing, then you're not giving the effort. If, man, I'm confident, I know what they teaching me, we're going to get this done. I think they have that feeling with Blake, but now it's a matter of talent. And you've lost up front Mason, you've lost Makai Wingo, that was a big loss.
Yes.
Man, Makai was so good up front. And also Jordan. Physically, man, he's everything you would like to have in an interior player.
Right.
And he was a strong dude. You lost those 3. You know, you relying now on Savion. This got to be his year, Savion Jones. Now, I saw him for so long. He was at St. James, and people don't realize probably Savion, when he went to LSU, was maybe 220 pounds. He wasn't a big guy.
Right.
You know, he's 275, 280 pounds today. He's ready.
Right.
This is his year. Guillory, we'll see if he can handle the nose. The worst part about all this, Eric, you start to have injuries and whittle down a very thin defensive line class. People say, oh, let the freshman play. Okay, you're going to play an 18-year-old freshman. Now, you're going to have to, but you're going to play him all the time up front? That's not going to work. He's going up against a 22-year-old man.
Right.
Okay, he's an 18-year-old young man.
Right.
That 22-year-old, you know, he knows how to beat him, and he's physically stronger.
He's been in the weight room for 4 years, right?
So I don't know about defensive line. The linebacking core is very good.
I agree with that.
I think they'll figure out what to do with Harold Perkins.
Secondary?
Well, secondary. Safeties, I don't feel bad about.
Me neither. I think they.
But cornerback, okay, who starts there? P.J. Woodland, a true freshman. Ashton Stamps.
Right.
Zai Alexander's coming off the injury. J.K. Johnson, the Ohio State guy. Okay, I have no idea how they're going to line this up when they play USC.
Right.
But I know one thing. If I'm USC, I'm throwing the ball on them because I'm not fearing of a pass rush yet.
Right.
What could bail them out is if Savion and certainly Perkins come around, but the one guy Pete Jenkins told, and he was on Sports Talk with us last week about, was Deshaun Womack. And he's like, Mike, he wasn't ready last year. Mentally and physically, he wasn't ready to play every snap because he didn't know what to do on every snap. He said, you know, okay, this, you know, because he laughs all the time because I tell him, man, we got people, football is football. It doesn't matter if it's high school, college, or pros. What? You got to be kidding me. Okay, it's a different level of football.
Sure.
Deshaun Womack is a guy immensely gifted. Last year, they used him every once in a while as a pass rusher. And Pete was like, he understood that part. But playing against the run, man, he's only thing he's worried about is getting into the backfield. Yeah. Leave the spot wide open, they're running in that area. Does he come around? Because, man, now, along with Swinson, you got him also, who I know Coach Kelly brought up to us when he was on Sports Talk that he thought he had made great progress in the 2 years there. So we'll see. The pass rush can certainly help coverage if you got it. Right. And I think they feel better at the safety position than they did a year ago. Bringing in Jordan from Texas A&M, if he's healthy, he's going to help you out a lot. And they got a couple young kids they really like back there at the safety spot. So I think question marks at cornerback, question marks certainly along the defensive line. So you're going to get caught in shootouts. Yeah. You know, 'cause I'm not worried about the offense.
Oh, come on. They stacked it wide receiver, they stacked it running back, and they're going to get the best offensive line in America.
And you think about, you got 4 to 5 guys. And Eric, I always question, you lose your center. Okay, you know how I feel about that.
Right.
And then I talked to Garrett Nussmeier at Manning Camp. I said, how you feel about PJ? And he said, Mike, I'm going to tell you, he plays like he's like a fifth-year senior.
Okay.
He said he gets it, and he's a really good communicator. He said he's a big center. And I get what he was trying to tell me. Charles Turner, he was smart, technically sound, but he wasn't the biggest guy around. His weight fluctuated. Yeah, I know they listed him at 300 pounds. Come on, he wasn't 300 pounds. He was 280 in that range. He's still a big man, but a lot of times he would get walked back into the quarterback. And you ain't walking back, PJ. No, PJ's a big man. And to have Campbell and Jones and Fraser and Miles and Dellinger, man, you got something up front.
Yes.
That Garrett doesn't have to be Jaden Daniels.
No, he doesn't.
And he's not going to be that type of player. So you know what? Don't take a lot of effort. Get that ball, give it to Caleb Jackson, Josh Williams. Man, become a power running team. Play a little bit of keep away. And the reason I say that is, you get a lot of fans, next man up at wide receiver. What? You lost 2 first-round pick receivers. The next man, okay, you think he's going to be as good as Malik or Brian? Brian was a revelation last year because he really came from kind of back of the pack to become this big-time player. Hopefully, Kyron can be that guy. And I think he's ready for the challenge. I've seen him since probably in junior high school, and he helped Thibodeau High School win a state championship in basketball. That was his first love, was basketball. And he realized he got a lot of 6'2" basketball players. Play wide receiver, got the advantage. Chris Hilton. Chris can get open, can he catch the ball? Because a lot of times, and I watched him, he let the ball get right there. He's letting the ball get too close to him. Aaron Anderson, who we talked about last year, can he come around with this? Kyle Parker's a guy, it's so funny. If you listen to Brian, he brought up his name not once with us, but twice about I'm anxious to watch Kyle Parker and giving him some options there. So C.J. Daniels, you brought in from Liberty, Xavier Thomas from Mississippi State. Man, they got a lot of guys, but not a lot on the resume. And so that's going to be the thing. Who emerges? I think Kyron will be certainly your number one guy. But who becomes the other option? Man, one thing I know with Chris Hilton, he can flat out fly. Now, can he catch the ball cleaner?
Let's talk Tulane. Tulane again, Willie Fritz moves on to Houston. John Summerall comes in, has a great offseason in terms of the transfer portal. Also, again, his recruiting class. The cupboard was not bare for Tulane. Again, they were able to hold on to most of their players, kept them out the transfer portal. They were picked third in the American Athletic Conference by the media. Your thoughts on this team this year?
It's what happens at quarterback. You didn't have that.
So Thompson or Horton?
Man, you know what? I'm going to say, if I had to start game one, I think I'd go with Kai.
Okay, because of experience?
Experience.
Right. Because Thompson, again, accolades 5-star, but I think Horton's
what has he done, though?
Right.
Okay, he was at Oregon. They wanted to give him the baton. He didn't take it. So what they do, they went out and get Bo Nix.
Right.
That was a pretty smart decision to go get Bo for what he did for the Oregon program. And I think it's a tight battle. I watch Kai, and okay, he isn't as athletically gifted as Ty. There's no question about that. He's not as athletically gifted, but he's smart. He puts the ball in a nice spot for receivers, and he's just got something about him. And I'm hoping Ty can be the guy.
Right.
But I don't know at this stage because we rarely saw him at Oregon, rarely saw him there, in a system tailor-made to showcase what position? Quarterback.
Right. Well, Mekhi Hughes is the key for Tulane.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, again,
okay, last year if we'd have said that, they'd have said, who's Mekhi?
Right.
And look what okay, he's not a super fast guy. He's smart. You can see the way he hits the hole, his eye vision. He's one cut up the field, okay? And next thing you know, that 3-yard gain is 6 yards downfield. And he's battling.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't go down easy. Right. The other thing for me with offensively is who takes Chris Brazil's spot, okay? because it's not a lot of guys on that roster. And I look on that sideline and see a 6'4" receiver.
Right.
That can catch the ball, red zone, short yardage, bang, I got to play.
Well, they bring in Preston from Alabama, Williams from USC.
Yeah.
The question is, again, how quickly can they assimilate?
Yeah, I think for both, man, I watched Chas play so much.
Right.
And he reminded me a lot of Jarvis Landry in that they sort of built the same.
Okay.
He's strong-handed. Hey, just throw it up, I got it.
Right.
It wasn't no 50-50 when he was in high school. It was more like 85-15. He was going to catch it, and he was going to battle you for it. Mario Williams comes in, super highly recruited guy. It didn't work for him at USC. He got a lot of speed, a lot of quickness. He can make you miss out into the open field. And Keith Brown is another guy I want to watch a little bit more. I think they'll pump the ball a little bit more to the tight end, which I would do.
Ballman is a really good tight end.
And he has shown he can make plays for you over the middle. The offense will look, I think, a little differently.
It will.
But
lose Hainsworth, who was a huge guy for them.
Man, when you lose the center, now you did bring in a transfer guy who's got some experience at center. And then you get a left tackle that was at Texas A&M and then at Troy. You feel pretty good about that spot. I just don't know enough about the trigger men.
Right.
Defensively, I got no qualms with that.
Me neither.
Other than you did lose some people in the secondary.
And Machado was hurt, and he was huge for them.
And so now you got, Pat coming back, Pat Jenkins coming back.
Yeah.
Aiden Huntington, who I saw a lot at UL Monroe.
Really good in camp.
And he is one of these technicians. Man, you take a look at him on the hook. Well, he's not that big.
Right.
But, man, can he play? And he's fast. He gets up that snap, and you can see his quickness.
Right.
He comes off, and almost like an MMA fighter, he's hitting you with his hands. Next thing you know, he's in the backfield.
Right.
So I think front seven, they'll be very good. Secondary, they did lose some key guys.
Right.
And now in today's world, in talking to a lot of offensive coaches in college football, their deal is we're not too worried about the vertical routes anymore. What we want to hit you with early, crossing routes. Because you got to turn your guy over to somebody else, and he's turning that side over to you.
Yeah.
You make a mental mistake, and we got a guy running free downfield. Man, we saw it at LSU.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is, Eric, I don't know when they stopped coaching this, but having a defensive back turn his head. You watch LSU last year a lot of times, they throw in the football, the ball's like right here.
Right.
They don't even have their head turned.
Right, not even looking back.
And the receiver, all he does at the last minute, throws his hands up, catches it. Hopefully Corey Raymond can remedy some of that.
Yes.
But I don't know if LSU got enough horses in the barn.
Okay.
At corner, defensive line.
All right, I got 30 seconds. Can Tulane be a team that gets to the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay.
If they get the right quarterback,
right.
I think that they're a team that could do some business.
Good deal. Don't have time to talk about the guys on the bayou. We'll talk about those next time.
Mr. Rebo, they picked him first in the Southlands, and he got a running game, experienced quarterback, and a really good defense.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really good.
Yeah, I think they will be.
Me too. Mike, thanks for your time.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio, our guest today here on Inside New Orleans Sports. Thanks so much for tuning in. Plenty of ways to catch our program. There's a QR code on your screen right now that'll take you to WLAE-TV YouTube, to the WLAE-TV's website. You can check us out on the WLAE-TV YouTube page, and of course rebroadcast on WLAE, WLAE2, and also Pelican Sports Television as well. Catch me on the radio for weekdays 4 to 6 on 106.1 The Ticket. You can download the 106.1 The Ticket app, iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, and of course our podcasts on all podcasting platforms. Again, we want to thank the staff here at WLAE-TV who make this show possible, and also again our fantastic sponsors who again continue to be able to keep this show on the air as well. I want to thank Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, also Alex Chacon, Danielle Wick, and also our director, William Hill. For Mike Detillier, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.
Growing Bolder is rebranding aging right here on public television. Get the launch pad to what's next in your life when you watch the inspirational stories of ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives. Growing Bolder shines the spotlight on men and women who are smashing stereotypes and proving that when it comes to living big, bold lives, it's not about age, it's about attitude.
Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. Saturdays at 2 p.m.
Hi, I'm Eric Asher, host of Inside New Orleans Sports. Join me every Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. for a live broadcast of Inside New Orleans Sports, featuring a reporters roundtable with local media members that cover the Saints, Pelicans, LSU, Tulane, and prep sports. Don't forget your calls are always welcome. That's Inside New Orleans Sports, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Fridays, 10 to 11 p.m. on WLAE-TV.
You're watching WLAE, New Orleans